As we sit here in light and safety, a rescue mission is underway, deep in a cave in Thailand. A soccer team and their coach, trapped by rainstorms more than 2 weeks ago, are fighting their way home through water and darkness and unimaginable danger. I have had to force myself not to think about them too much. Their suffering is simply too much for my heart or my imagination to bear. Because the challenge before them is the stuff of every nightmare you've ever had. To perform a Herculean task for which they are not prepared, under enormous pressure, with life and death being equal possibilities. When those boys do come to mind, the first thing I do is I pray for them. I pray for their families. And then I follow the great theologian Mr. Rogers' advice in time of trouble. Look for the helpers. I do. There are many. Highly trained, courageous women and men have been tending to the team, and if anyone can bring them safely home, they can. But the other thing I do in my own life, when events emerge unexpectedly, I quickly assess all my options. I've learned to do this with lightning speed. When something's not going the way I planned, I instinctively think, what's plan B, what's plan C, what's plan D? I need an escape route. I need an alternative interpretation. I need another possible and acceptable outcome. But for this morning, for 12 boys and their coach, there is only one acceptable option, and it is dangerous beyond anything we can imagine. Only 2 chapters ago in Mark's gospel, after miraculously stilling a storm, Jesus' disciples whispered to one another, "Who is this guy that even the wind and the sea obey him?" You see, Jesus was a master of great outcomes, surprising results. He was a proven producer of miracles everywhere he went. But today, after having healed and hushed, exorcised and animated in villages all over the region, the crowd flips that question on its head. Who is this guy that we should obey him? That crowd, that sarcastic mob, that was in Jesus' hometown. Those were the people who'd thrown Mary a baby shower and watched Jesus play t-ball. They were the people who hired Joseph to remodel their kitchens and whose children shared bicycles. They were the people who had met him and loved him first, and now they have come to hate him. Everywhere else Jesus went, people were literally, the word that's used, astounded at his abilities. They simply cannot get enough of him. And Mark uses the same word today. The audience in Nazareth was astounded, but not in a good way. They weren't amazed at his wisdom or his reputation, but at his hubris. Who is this guy? When did he get so smart? How did he learn to do all those things? And they mocked him and his parents and his brothers and his sisters. And then they turned their backs. Didn't they know who he was? Hadn't they heard what he could do? Jesus was ruler of wind and sea, tamer of demons, and friend of sinners everywhere. Everywhere but there. In fact, their unbelief was so intense that it stumped him, Mark writes. Jesus could do no deed of power there. He laid his hands on a few people and cured them. But that's it. They wouldn't let him work. In a world both then and now that evaluates us solely on the basis of outcome, Jesus failed. How is that even possible? Because until that humiliating moment, Jesus had done nothing but succeed. But suddenly, in a place he thought he knew, roadblocks, walls, impediments, limits, the message landed on deaf ears and on cold hearts. But Jesus had so much work to do. He knew there were ears eager to hear, hearts open to him, and you can almost see the wheels turning in his head as he looks at his disciples and say, okay, here we go, plan B. Now you go. And before they could object, he gave them two gifts. First was the gift of power, power to teach, to heal, even to cast out demons. And the second gift was the gift of limits. No bag, no coat, no cell phone. Go. Some will receive you, good for them. Some will laugh you out of town. But go anyway, and then keep going. What an interesting ministry model. Bang your head against doors until one of them happens to fall open. Not very efficient or inviting, but not surprising either. Because the goal of Jesus' ministry was not success as we would measure it. If it was, he would have equipped them better. The goal of Jesus' ministry was to bring good news of salvation to all people, to do the work regardless of the outcome. Because that's what Jesus learned in Nazareth and what he taught his disciples. We are not responsible for the results, only for the work. The outcome is not ours, only the opportunity. And then in walk Hannah and Nathanael, actually carried in two of Jesus' tiniest little disciples. Their parents bring them today to be baptized in this font. It seems that they bring little to this business of discipleship. They can't even walk yet, let alone spread the gospel message to all the world. But that is not their work. We don't baptize children and plot their progress on a spreadsheet. We don't evaluate their parents' capability by did you teach them 10 commandments? Check. Can they say the Apostles' Creed before they're 2 years old? Check. How are they doing on justice and peace in all the world? Needs work. Hannah and Nathanael's work, their baptismal vocation is simply to be loved. That's why they are here, to be loved. And our work is to love them, to model patience and forgiveness and welcome and durability when times are hard. It is our work to make this place among God's people a safe and nurturing home. Years ago, a friend's grade school daughter begged her dad to come outside and play catch with her. She aspired to the major leagues. When they got outside, she took the ball away from him and said, "Dad, here's how this goes. I'll throw the ball in the air and you say, 'Hooray!'" That's what we do for Nathanael and Hannah and all who are in our care. Every breath they take, every smile they make, every step they take, we say, "Hooray!" without reservation or hesitation. So that when the roadblocks and the walls and the impediments and the limits emerge, they will have strength and confidence and skills to do whatever work is required of them. Not to worry about the results, but to work as they learned from us, fearlessly, joyfully, trusting that all outcomes belong to God. And that's where Jesus' plan differs from ours. In every other arena of our lives, we are measured by outcomes. Results matter. Productivity matters. Efficiency matters. Income matters. Everywhere those things matter, but not here. Not among us. Let this be a place for Hannah and Nathanael and for you that differs from all other places, where you are not measured or evaluated or compensated in relationship to the volume or the value of your work. Ours is the work of ministry, teaching and healing, feeding and forgiving, the results of that work? As we speak, subterranean rescue efforts are being carried out far from here. Those who do the rescuing bring extraordinary skills to bear, doing everything they can do. But they can only do what they can do. They also have limits. They cannot control the outcome of this rescue. So they do what they have been trained to do. What will come of their work? Jesus sends us into the world with gifts and limits. Gifts of grace and mercy. Limits of control. We are responsible for the work, not the results. All of that, all of us, belongs to God.